Welcome back, guys. We are officially halfway through Power's first spinoff, and it's been an interesting ride thus far. The first half led us like a roller coaster upon takeoff, ascending gradually, with a wild ride all but guaranteed once the series returns in December. For those bummed by the 2-month layoff, it, like most of 2020, can be attributed to the ever-present coronavirus, which shut production down during the final stages of completion, according to actor Gianni Paolo, who portrays series favorite Braden. Due to the lapse, the series wasn't fully done, and they've been working to finish it once given the all clear. Thus, we'll have to patiently wait to finish this fresh narrative. Be that as it may, the silver lining is that this break allows for many unanswered questions to be explored, as well as parallels from the old Power to the new. I'll be doing much of that in the meantime. As for this video, we'll be breaking down the top 10 WTF moments from the mid-season finale and offer analysis and predictions throughout. Before we begin, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to immediately receive these videos. Here we go. WTF moment number 10, A Nightmare in Tribeca. In the opening scene, we see the remaining St. Patrick family members gathered at the dinner table in honor of Tariq's 18th birthday. During the celebration, a mysterious knock lures Tasha from the festivities. When she opens the door, an alive and equally confused Raina meets her. Overwhelmed with emotion, Tasha showers her slain daughter with love, pain, and regret, apologizing profusely for her current predicament, much to Raina's confusion. Right before she can show Raina's survival to the rest of the family, Tasha awakens in her prison cell, having dreamed the entire scenario as it's both Tariq and Raina's birthday in real life, her imagination and accompanying guilt inspiring the false vision. WTF moment number 9, Saxe begs Tamika. Saxe visits Tamika and begs her not to testify against him during his recusal hearing. He stresses that her testimony will eradicate his career, and rightfully so, as she's unaware of the political ties that bind, ties that won't allow him to drop the queenpin charges against Tasha. He previously conveyed to her that he was at Truth the night Ghost was killed. However, he was not the shooter as we well know, but Tamika's testimony could create further questions into who might have seen Saxe there, and their personal motives therein. It's a situation that would bode terribly for Saxe, but even worse for Tariq potentially. WTF moment number 8, Monet's Rule Part 2, A Lesson in Control. Believe it or not, there's a method to becoming a savage in the game. It's a skill. To control a nigga, you gotta always be able to think ahead of him. Whatever you say to him should always lead him back to you. Monet offers these words and other jewels to her daughter Diana during one of her unofficial lessons on gaining power, grooming her daughter in the art for when it becomes her time to make real decisions. She later exhibits her philosophy on Ramirez, the cop she's connected to, who shows up unannounced. There's much weight to Monet's sentiments, and she uses them on Tariq in the final act, pulling him in closer, deeming her his third son, and forcing Kane to give him his gun as a birthday present. All of this is strategic posturing to learn Tariq's system and potentially discard him if need be. This ordeal didn't sit right with Kane, and the blowback from Monet's move could be cataclysmic to her family. WTF moment number 7, The Lie That Broke Tasha's Back. Remember the pact. Tariq, you never lie to me again, and in exchange, you get an education, a street education. Up until this point, Tariq held up his side of the bargain, or did he? Tariq contacts his mother and reveals to her that Tamika's testimony could leave him exposed, as it was Saxe who he saw that fateful night at Truth, and he's been using that information to blackmail Saxe and subsequently help his mother from the outside. Tasha is livid upon discovering the new information, charging Greek with using similar tactics as Ghost once did. The parallel here is precise. The lie of omission was one of the slain legend's go-to maneuvers when setting events in motion. Tariq's implementation of it, though under the guise of helping, is Ghost 101. Remember, Ghost accompanied all of his actions too with that pretentious air of good intentions. It soothes the conscious mind of any wrongdoing, making one believe that their actions are necessary and simultaneously justified. WTF moment number 6, The Queenpin Strikes Back. In response to Tariq's Saxe revelation, Tasha informs her son that Tamika already believed he was the shooter, which resulted in the latter's dismissal from the case. She continued by stating that everything that Saxe told her is fair game because the conversations weren't privileged. Thus, Tamika would be a major loose end for not only the prosecution, but the defense as well. Tasha tries to get Davis to drop the recusal hearing to no avail. She then contacts Tariq with the bad news, and he offers to take whatever may come if that'll bring his mother home. True to her Black Widow form, Tasha tells Tariq to talk to Tamika and convince her not to take the stand by any means necessary. Tariq subsequently visits Tamika with every intention of making her capitulate. However, his mission is thwarted by an overzealous McLean, who believes Saxe is meddling just hours before Tamika's testimony. Tariq escapes, but Tamika conveys the full truth to McLean, resulting in his startling deal in the episode's final act. WTF moment number 5. Riley goes rogue. Riley meets with her Uncle Nancy and conveys preliminary information on Tariq and their budding operation. Saxe directs Riley to observe and report, nothing else. At Tariq's surprise birthday celebration, Riley spikes Braden's drink in an attempt to gain unfiltered information from him, having been rebuked previously by her new lover. However, Braden unwittingly passes the drink to Tariq, causing him to spiral into a blacked-out abyss. This unfortunate event cost him a romantic evening with Lauren, got his gun stolen courtesy of Diana, and might have jeopardized his freedom via the graveyard rant, something we'll get into later in the video. WTF moment number 4. Keep it in the closet. Drew runs into Everett at Tariq's surprise party and attempts to give his newfound lover a hug. However, Everett flips the script on Drew, pretending to be just his homeboy as opposed to who we know him to be. They subsequently have a confrontation about the scenario in the car, with Drew scolding him for being afraid to be his true self, and Everett putting his basketball career and sexuality in context for Drew. The argument ends with Everett storming off upon learning that Zeke is actually Drew's cousin, potentially leaving his dark secret exposed. WTF moment number 3. Addicts Anonymous Part 3. Carrie's Revenge. While out having a quiet dinner, Zeke runs into Carrie and the two chat for a while. During their conversation, Zeke bears his soul, speaking on the pressures of vultures at the school and his fatherless upbringing, something that sparks the love addiction aspect of Carrie's personality. As we know, she has a soft spot for black men in need. Jabari is one of those men, and he contacts her profusely after being shut down in his need for inspiration to write his next bestseller. Once the two are alone, Zeke makes his move on the beautifully flawed professor, covering her phone and taking their relationship to the next level. Carrie is open to this endeavor, given Jabari's prior escapade with his grad student and her conflicted feelings over his behavior of late. This is the perfect revenge scenario for Carrie, one that will surely blow up in her face by season's end. WTF moment number 2. A fucking plagiarist. You ain't wrote no books, you ain't done no articles, cause you's a fucking plagiarist. This is not just an hilarious excerpt from Dr. Umar's now classic rant, but an embodiment of Jabari's writing career thus far. Jabari finds himself at an impasse in this episode, with his agent threatening to abandon him for greener pastures if his next book doesn't sell well. Well, wider pastures if I'm quoting the brother correctly. Growing ever more anxious over his floundering career, he attempts to respark his literary motivation through Carrie, but to no reward. Seemingly at the corner of writer's block and desperation, Jabari plagiarizes Tariq's additional classwork, implementing his understudy's language word for word in his upcoming book. This maneuver is an absolute no-no in scholarly circles, as a plagiarist is the worst thing you can be in that realm. Additionally, it highlights Jabari's supreme hypocrisy in trying to inspire perfection in Tariq, yet lacking in so many areas himself. Honorable mention WTF moment before we get to number 1. Hey Tariq, say cheese. In Tariq's drug state, he wanders off to the graveyard where his sister and father are buried. In Raina's case, he laments her death and blames himself, confirming that, "I'm still hurting," further explaining that killing Ray Ray didn't undo the wound in his soul from losing his better half. He then arrives at his father's headstone and spews vitriol over his mother's current predicament and his father's role in her fate. "She took the weight that you never could," Tariq furiously stated. He also doubled down on his assertion that he had to do it, i.e. kill Ghost, because that's what the latter would have done in his position. He then tragically concluded that, "You're the only one who understands why I had to do it." That quote is profound in the sense that Tariq is beginning to bear the burden of his actions against his family. The weight on his conscience is growing by the day, and his inebriated evening simply magnified his pain. Ironically, Tariq donned the exact same suit he wore the night he killed Ghost. Though this tragic moment of clarity was warranted, it was a bit of a missed opportunity to not include a ghost apparition here. Those visions that crowded the latter portion of Season 6 are fleeting thus far in Book 2, though a Raina sighting was provided in Tasha's dream sequence. To me, this just lends further credence to Ghost potentially still walking the earth, but we shall see. And WTF moment number 1, Saxe and McLean win at all costs. McLean meets with Tamika, and she seemingly tells all on Tasha and the St. Patrick's. He then meets with Saxe at his office and states that he convinced Tamika not to testify, thus sparing the beleaguered AUSA of certain embarrassment, and perhaps much worse. He attempts to blackmail Saxe into dropping all charges, with the caveat that his sighting at Truth that night will remain secret. However, Saxe raises the brilliant lawyer one with the knowledge of Tasha's desire to take a plea and video footage of Tariq confessing at the graveyard. With both counselors at a stalemate, they agree to work together once Tasha's trial begins. Davis will keep his pristine record intact, while Saxe will get to prosecute the real killer, Tariq, in the interest of justice, of course. The major issue with the arrangement is that Tariq could potentially get the needle himself, being tried as an adult now that he's 18 years old. Callously, McLean expresses his lack of regard for Tariq, so long as he's in the win column. While some may demonize McLean for this decision, it's honestly in his best interest. Tariq and Tasha have been evasive with their counsel from the beginning, if not downright dishonest. That lack of transparency could ruin any lawyer, as it nearly did Tamika prior to her being downsized, so McLean is playing it safe. However, keep in mind that a man of his stature definitely has skeletons, and I think we'll see Tariq unearth them one by one once he catches on to the plot. Remember, Ghost and Proctor's relationship, though eventually beneficial, began rocky, with Ghost blackmailing Proctor to represent Tommy and subsequently his own legal interests. Thus, I believe Reek and McLean will ultimately reach a good place, one that is mutually beneficial. But in order to arrive there, Tariq will have to implement his ever-growing ghost-like tactics against him. A few final points before we wrap up for today. The gift of Maji's theme is apparent for Tariq and Tasha's points of view. Remember, the crux of the story is about a couple offering gifts for each other that they ultimately can't use. In the mid-seasoner, Tariq gives Tasha the gift of blackmailing Saxe, something she cannot use now, and Tasha returns the gift with the revelation of why Tamika was truly fired, her suspicion of Tariq's true involvement in Ghost shooting. This is also something that he cannot utilize, and is poetic given the nature of its inspiration. If you revisit my Miseducation of Tariq video, I made a parallel to his street poisoning and that of the legendary Bobby Beck, known the world over as Iceberg Slim. Slim once said that the pimp is the loneliest bastard on earth. Tariq finds himself in that precarious position halfway through his independent street journey, literally the loneliest bastard on earth. Tariq could turn Kane against his family, exposing Monet's relationship with Ramirez to Lorenzo. We'll be looking to see how that develops as the story continues. Diana stealing Tariq's gun was not the best move, and a cover-up for her own shortcomings in the field, hoping to gain favor with her hardened mother. Braden's grievances against Tariq are starting to mirror Tommy's against Ghost. Tariq's omissions are gaining on him if you're paying attention. Also, chess isn't just a game to Tariq, but life in its purest form. His outline description of the Tejadas as chess pieces came with instructions for his partner in crime, including knocking over any piece that stops by as a warning, and all the pieces if it's a code red. I don't think the Power Brass would include that scene if we wouldn't witness something similar in the latter 5 episodes, so I can't wait to see how that point develops. Trace just marked himself for death by stealing product from Reek and Braden's stash. Monet won't go for such an excuse or any hiccups in revenue. Y'all remember her rules, right? Tariq involuntarily becoming Monet's third son could foreshadow doom for one of her biological children going forward. We'll see how that develops as well. Also, still no ghost visions or Tommy sightings. I don't think we get through the latter 5 without one of each or both. As I previously stated, I think Tariq likely blackmails McLean once his treachery is apparent. This is a direct parallel once again of Ghost and Proctor, with Ghost having blackmailed his future consigliere to jumpstart their unlikely alliance. And finally, Riley is the new Holly, and if that situation continues, then we all know what her fate is going to be. To say it plain, she's out of there. Thank you for watching today's video. As always, if you like today's video, go ahead and hit the like button for us, share it with your friends who are Power Ghost fans, and subscribe for more content such as this. Just a reminder, guys, my birthday was Monday, October 5th, and I appreciate all the wishes that you all have bestowed upon me. If you'd like to donate or send me a Cash App gift, feel free to Cash App me at $ King Rudy III. That's King Rudy, the 3RD. And as always, guys, thank you for watching today's video. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at airtight_magic. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beats, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.